Well, fun times all around, fun times all around. I hope all of you are doing well today. I'm having at least a decent little time here, setting things up, getting things moving. It is time for some Klossowski. Welcome to the Quarantine Collective's ongoing reading. Probably only one reading of this. We may do a second. Of Klossowski's Nietzsche and the Vicious Circle. We're finally in chapter 3, where we actually move to some really important shit, to be frank. This is where it jumps. This is where things kind of get absolutely wild. See, there we go. Now we got organelles here. Excellent. At least one other person. See, 2 other people. Look, people showing up. It only takes a moment or 2. Where is everyone? I don't know. Welcome to the ebbs and flows of reading groups. Why, Brooks, do you think most reading groups don't last very long? It's because most of them are led by someone who feels weird when people don't show up. I'm here actually for myself, purely egotistical, nightmarish thing. So I'm used to people not showing up. We've had entire AO readings where it's myself and one other person. You get used to it. You do. It's fine. It's one of the sort of fun parts of this is sort of those ebbs and flows. What are you going to do? It's Klossowski also. A lot of people don't really get why I think he's the fucking jam. Why he's the most important thing. And on that note, I'm just going to go straight up and bring up the fucking page here. Because Klossowski is the fucking jam. As we move into chapter 3, we're finally going to start getting to what Klossowski is pulling out of Nietzsche's work. The opening here, which we're going to spend time on the letter, even though it's literally meant to be an introduction to this. But to reiterate, what Klossowski is doing is taking Nietzsche's writings as though they're not done in a vacuum, as though Nietzsche's writing at times in his life, where his life is, as Nietzsche himself has described, the result of impulses, forces, all of these things at war. And what are these impulses and forces? What can he understand of them? Well, if he's understanding them, and as he's telling us about them, which he claims he is, we should trust him. We should presume that what's happening to Nietzsche is what he's writing, and vice versa, that this isn't some abstract thought experiment, as some certainly think. It's from No King. Someone left it in the U-Haul after we gave out costumes, so I got in Arizona. This letter is amazing. We're going to just basically jump right to reading it. It's not going to be a massively complex letter to read, but I do want to sort of talk through a couple of things before I go in, things to sort of pay attention to. This letter, and I'm just sort of hinting at what Klossowski is going to be talking about, but this letter is the actual trace in Nietzsche's writing of his experience of the eternal return, the vicious circle. This is the thing where he's writing about what happened, how it happened, where it happened, all of the stuff around it. It's an incredible piece, and he makes reference to so much of his own writings and stuff that he'll be writing after this. But he makes reference to other letters that we've already gone through. So it's going to be really fun to read. As we go, pay attention to that. We'll be jamming through this. It's a pretty solid Nietzsche. When he writes well, and this is peak Nietzsche. To Gast. The August sun is overhead. The year is slipping away. The mountains and forests are becoming more quiet and peaceful. On my horizon, thoughts have arisen, such as I have never seen before. I will not speak of them, but will maintain my unshakable calm. I suppose now I'll have to live a few years longer. Ah, my friends, sometimes the idea runs through my head that I am living an extremely dangerous life, for I am one of those machines which can explode. The intensity of my feelings makes me shudder and laugh. Several times I have been unable to leave my room, for the ridiculous reason that my eyes were inflamed. From what? On each occasion I had wept too much on my wanderings the day before. Not sentimental tears, mind you, but tears of joy. I sang and talked nonsense, filled with a glimpse of things which put me in advance of all other men. After all, if I were unable to derive my strength from myself, if I had to wait for encouragement, comfort, and good cheer from the outside, where would I be? What would I be? There have indeed been moments, and even whole periods in my life, for example, the year 1878, when I would have felt a word of encouragement, a friendly handshake, to be the last word in restoratives. Precisely then, everyone left me in the lurch. Everyone on whom I thought I could rely and who could have done me the favor. Now I no longer expect it and feel only a certain dim and dreary astonishment when, for example, I think of the letters that reach me nowadays. They are all so insignificant. Nobody has come to experience anything because of me. Nobody has had a thought about me. What people say is very decent and well-intentioned, but it is remote, remote, remote. Even our dear Jacob Burckhardt wrote such a meek and tender letter. The entire letter to Gast, and it's longer than this, and there's a lot more he talks about. This is where Nietzsche's talking about this moment, and it's a revelatory moment for him beyond words as he's going through all of this. There's a handful of little bits that like are references to other thing. Nietzsche wrote Burckhardt, our dear Jacob Burckhardt, friend of both of them. And Burckhardt, I think, is the guy who ended up receiving Nietzsche's letters after he snapped. But he was a colleague at Basel, and a culturist. That was his thing. And they would talk about those things. But it was meek and timid. He was fearful, domesticated, spoke of things in this way that wasn't bold. And Nietzsche would mention this, but again, it's not the same thing as this revelation's intensity that he's talking about here. It's a hell of a way to start out, because we're now going into and talking about kind of everything that goes into the eternal return and everything that is sort of set up for it. It's a great way to start. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of this part. It's good stuff. So I guess, unless there's a specific passage in here, I think generally the vibe gets across on its own. I kind of just want to jump into the actual work from Klossowski. So anyone want to stand on a thing or curious about a line in here or two? Because there is a lot Nietzsche says, and it's pretty fantastic, but it's all more like, again, personal poetry, that kind of stuff. So mostly it's background Klossowski's using to sort of push forward. Does that make sense to everyone? I'm glad it does. Clearly it does. All right. Then we'll make our move over. As we go through, Klossowski normally writes exceptionally well. In here, he's going to be writing a lot more. To me, I get the feel of the taste of Nietzsche throughout this, where it becomes a lot more aphoristic, shorter little bits that have profound meaning. And so as we go through, it's not going to be like a paragraph at a time. It's going to be sort of semi-paragraphs, one sentence or two. There are breakups of these things that I want to make sure we get through and we talk about to make sure that the language is coming through clearly, because there's a lot of terms in here that are very important if you're studying Nietzsche, if you're understanding Nietzsche or coming from Nietzsche or going to him after this. So apologies up ahead. Forgetting and anamnesis in the lived experience of the eternal return of the same. The thought of the eternal return of the same came to Nietzsche as an abrupt awakening in the midst of a Stimmung, a certain tonality of the soul. Initially confused with this Stimmung, it gradually emerged as a thought. Nonetheless, it preserved the character of the revelation as a sudden unveiling. The shocking... traditions might call it the break of enlightenment, satori, the lightning bolt of knowledge and revelation and all that. But Stimmung is the word in here that's doing a lot of heavy lifting. It does not really have a translation to English. There's a reason that Smith left it here. There's a reason that the original term Nietzsche used is left by Klossowski even in the French. It means, sort of means, the tonality of the soul. A certain tonality of the soul is what Klossowski's terming it, and I really like that. It's the mood, the vibe of the thing. It is a affect state, if that makes sense. It's something here that is sort of moving beyond a couple things. Nietzsche initially confuses it with the actual confuses with this Stimmung, this thought of the eternal return, because these things happen sort of temporally alongside each other. There is a crossover of these moments. There's a temporal structure that we're starting to see very early on that's worth keeping a pin in. But the thing that you should see here is that the experience of it, initially confused, it gradually emerged as a thought. The experience is preceding that structuration, is preceding that formulation of things. And so you have these sort of two steps that Klossowski's laying out here, right? So we have the immersion in this intensive state where affect and thought are blended together, the Stimmung, right? And then you have the thought at some point, the sort of second part, where the differentiation occurs, the individuation of these ideas, where thought is detaching from this affective experience, right? And it never fully separates. It's always part of it, but this is the thing. It preserved the character of the revelation as a sudden unveiling. The sudden unveiling is a really huge part to this. He goes on, and it's a parenthetical. The ecstatic character of this experience must be distinguished from the notion of the universal ring that already haunted Nietzsche during the Hellenic period of his youth. This is one of those Nietzsche nerd things, but Klossowski is basically trying to distinguish this way that Nietzsche was dealing with concepts during things like Birth of Tragedy, which is the Hellenic period that he's referring to. The lived ecstasy of this experience of, as Nietzsche will call it, the Silmarie, 1881. This lived thing changes that. He's trying to place it up against it. It's a specific different type of notion, different type of a thing. The universal ring, which was Nietzsche's earlier ideas, why is it of the same? We'll be getting, in English a bit different than I have it. Afnan, can you say how you have it? Just so I understand.
Hi, how are you, Brooke? It's been a while.
It has. Welcome back.
Sorry, I haven't been here a lot. Study started and busy. Anyway, I don't know, we have it as not of the same, but to the same. With the difference between them being the difference and repetition. Even in Klossowski, not in Deleuze. Now, I know yes. Deleuze explains it, but even so, that's why I wondered, is it like a an accurate translation in English, or is there something there?
So for me, it's an accurate translation because Klossowski's playing slightly differently, but it's going to be a very, again, these are where we start getting the fun stuff. It's a very minor difference between him and Deleuze, but it is actually there. So you're noticing a thing that I think does exist as a separation in how they handled this. They're going to be talking about it. Like Klossowski's not going to walk past the idea that he's saying of the same instead of to the same. He's going to be talking about this a little bit later. No?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing that in how I have it is actually that him talking.
Are you talking about
same,
you're talking about? Do you have a copy of the French?
translation I have? No.
Okay.
The translation I have is like, I think it's a little bit maybe influenced by Deleuze, because maybe the translator we have is a little bit Deleuzian or something. So yeah,
well,
okay, that's all. Yeah.
So this is the Daniel Smith translation, and I tend to go with him. Give me 2 seconds. Let me pull up, because actually we can solve this really fast actually, because you happen to talk about something that's literally like the thing I love, so that's okay. I'm happy to take a moment. I just need to find Vishu. Fine, I'll just get my fucking physical copy. All right. Let's do this. Come back, country culture. Just 2 seconds, sorry. Just gotta find the right section. Experience to the observator. Come on, get me to the beginning of the section. So in French, it's I apologize to everyone French who exists in the world all the time. Oubliez amnanis dans l'espérance vécue de l'éternel retour du même. So it is of do, not to. I don't read do as to the same. I don't think so. Should it be? I don't know French well enough. I don't think it is, though.
Isn't do to as well? Because like the Aristotelian book on the soul, if I remember, it's in France, would be do maybe, I don't know.
No, it's
Oft, is it?
It of the it should be not du. No, in Klossowski's, it is in Klossowski's original French. It's de. Du, du mim. So of the repeat the same the identical. That's not the right word. What the fuck, Brooks? It's close.
Oh, okay. Du, not de. Okay.
Yeah, it's du.
Okay.
Which is actually interesting. Sorry. Now you've got me on a thing in my head.
Is it a historic thing now?
No. It's I just want to make sure. I get obsessive just for a moment because I just want to make sure. Espérance here de l'éternel. I apologize for this pronunciation. Dog, relax. Yeah, I only know of de as like it wouldn't be to. Like we wouldn't use it I'm going to the store. Like you wouldn't say that. And he wouldn't say like I'm going back to my old ways. I'm going back to my old ways. You wouldn't say that. Again, I can't speak French for the life of me. But if you were saying of the same, well, that's actually really fuck. Now I'm overthinking this. God damn it, Afnan, every time, you motherfucker. No,
what did I do? You asked me. You said
I know. you got my brain. We got my brain questioning a thing, and now I can't do as of, not to. To would be well, right. Well, that's the thing. But here's the other thing. So somebody on YouTube's talking with me on it. The way that Deleuze runs with it, and it's in his original French, but he does speak of it as it's a translation thing. But he does speak of it slightly different. It's of the, not to the. And for Deleuze, when it's translated, it does get translated as to the. But now I'm fucking going back and looking and trying to see in Nietzsche philosophy is this, and it's de. He's using de. It's not to. I've taken it as to because I'm the person I am who fucking rails about translation never looked, and he never says. Return, amim. That's amim. That's not what he says. It's for Deleuze too. And that fucks with me because I understood them as different. I said that earlier and I was fucking wrong. And I'm fascinated when I'm wrong like that because that's really interesting.
No. So you're saying they're both the same?
Yeah, no, Deleuze does the same thing.
I think I remember Deleuze making the difference. I'm not sure, it's been a while, but I can find you the exact one where he does mention there and to as two different things, especially in the third synthesis.
Oh, he does, but it's
with regards to Nietzsche's eternal return.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so this is going to be a fun road to go down. I'm going to make a pen. I'm making a note to myself to have that because it's about, not as like a spoiler, but I mean, and this is again, I think for Deleuze, the difference is significant. If it's two, then that means there is a direction and there is a goal, like at some level, there's a towards or, something that is the same. There's a structure that is almost teleological. Whereas if it's return of the same, then it's a claim about what is recurring. And this is how I've taken Nietzsche and Klossowski significantly. And Deleuze plays in that because when he introduces even in Anti-Oedipus, they make the same reference because he's talking about.
I have it in front of me. Indifference and repetition in the French translation is supposed to be somewhere between the 388 or 89, where you will see so the matter is, maybe it's a difference of languages. Maybe I'm not accurate about the language because I still have it in my language. So maybe I'm translating it a bit wrong, but it's 2 seconds. Exactly. This is, yeah.
Sorry. My French copy of Difference and Repetition is somewhere upstairs. Sorry, I was just going for that. So now, apologies. Go ahead.
No, it's okay.
I just don't want to miss what you're saying.
I might be translating it wrong. So you tell me. But in my language, to and off are different in the sense that when you say to, it's not actually going to the same thing precisely as an end or something that you're heading towards, but rather when you say off, that's when you no longer have the difference. Because whenever you go back to the same thing, to the same, not of the same, when you go back to the same, you're going with difference, with repetition. And this is in front of me. If I would read for you just this small part.
Just real quick, if I can ask, what chapter? So we won't have the same page, but I'm curious what chapter, and just if you can give like a general.
Yeah. So I'll try to. Yeah. I'll try to give you if you want. Do you have the English copy, or do you have?
I have an English copy.
English copy. Okay.
If you just tell me I'll figure it out as you go. Don't worry.
Okay.
I just need to know what chapter.
Yeah. If you open the page 388 and tell me what do you have, because it's
there's not 388 pages in the English, so it's gonna be tougher.
How many pages do you have?
It's like 320.
320.
So is it? Are we talking about the asymmetrical syntheses of the sensible? Is that the part you're on? Yes. Okay.
So the third sentence, yeah.
And we're talking about the third synthesis within that?
Yes. Within that, you will have where he speaks of Descartes first, and then you will have the So what page are you at? I'm sorry, because
it's like 250-ish on the English, 250-ish. Yeah, it's a completely different. But I'm looking for the Descartes section because that's not a thing I normally mark. So one sec. I found Nietzsche. Here we go. The great discovery of Nietzsche's philosophy marks his break with Schopenhauer. That's what I have at the beginning of that paragraph. That's 250.
So the problem is in my language, it's more than 600 pages. So I'm a little bit skeptical on where are we both
of us. That's fantastic. I love it. Just what is the first line? If you had to translate it, what is the first line of the paragraph you've got?
Okay, so I'll try. So maybe I think if you open the chapter 4, I think. Chapter 5.
Chapter 5. Yep.
What do you have as chapter 5?
Asymmetric synthesis of the sensible.
Okay, so chapter 5 it is. Now the difference in the pages between us, I'm not sure whether
it's significant.
Yeah. Because my chapter 5 is page 400 something, and when I told you 300 something, it's just because I know that between the English edition and the edition I have, is 50 pages.
If you just tell me the first 4 letters of the beginning of the paragraph you're on, the first 4 words, just tell me what it could be, I'll find it.
Okay, so I'll try to translate it as much as I can. So it says Nietzsche's eternal, from the perspective of philosophy of the event, is defined as the time. I don't know how to translate this. I'm sorry, but anyway.
No, you're good. You're good. That's enough. Give me a minute, just to find, because that'll be enough. I can figure it out. As much as there are differences in translations, they're not going to be that different. If it opens with a mention of Nietzsche's eternal return, they're not going to be like, oh yeah, actually, we're going to talk about Bergson here.
No. So I'll read this, maybe it will help you. It says, it is the same of the permanent transformation and return, which is said of difference, in that the return is the multiplicity and the heterogeneity of simulation rules. There is no return except for what is different. The return is the other return of the same thing, not the return of the return to the same thing, not of the same thing. What consists as the unity of the return. Anyway, there's some words I can't translate. So the first one is the return of the difference to the same thing, not the return of the same thing.
Interesting.
So
wait, say that one more time. Say it one more time for me. The return to the difference of the same thing, not the return of the same thing.
Yes.
That would be
to the difference of the same thing. To the same thing. Anyway, I think we took much longer of the time.
There's no such. I don't give a shit. Yeah. This is my fucking stream. They can. Everyone can fuck off. They're gonna learn. We're gonna take a moment.
Okay. I'll try to find it in the English myself. I'll try to find it because
it's going to be one of those things. The paragraphs are not the same. Just so you know. So that makes it really fun.
You said the English one is how many pages?
It ends like it goes to the index at like 300.
How is that possible? Because the French one that I know of, it's like you reach 300 and more, like 400, isn't it?
I don't know.
Am I wrong?
No, I'm
Oh, you have a bad translation in the English.
Oh, geez, a bad Deleuze translation? I've never heard of that. I've never discussed a such thing. Ever.
I mean, 300 would be very
I'm going to hit I'm hitting Z Library. I'm going to get the original French. I don't have a digital version of it for some reason. Use difference. There. Nice fat PDF that will have this. Come on. I want a smaller one that actually has the. All right. Yeah, that'll work. I'll convert you to a PDF. So that way. No, that book is not there. Excellent. Please be there. You're there. Good. Get the PDF. Daily limit reached. Now, 1 second. All right, just getting downloads going. Be a second. Okay. And do you have the French by chance at all? No?
Obviously not. No.
Obviously not. That's okay.
But it's written down here, the reference to that page exactly.
All right, I have the French. What page would it be exactly?
So it should be, this is 50 and 21. It should be 387 or 388. Because usually in the pages that we have, we will have a reference for each page in the original edition.
Yes, so something's fucked up here then. Because I have it in front of me and it's that is just not going to be the thing. But this is a newer printing.
Okay, I'll take a photo for you.
No. It's not that. I need to find a.
No. Maybe because you would know better in the French. Maybe maybe you'll read.
I might know less. All right, there it is. Okay, so this is the original because it's going to be versions. Does it say what year publishing by chance?
I'll have to check the end of it, and yes, definitely it will be saying it somewhere.
It should have it somewhere. I'm going to guess.
Yeah. They will have it somewhere.
Okay, here's this one, and then you said. All right, this makes a lot more sense. Okay, so what page again? 370 something, 380 something.
Yeah, 387 or 388, either one.
387, 388. Okay. So markability individuations. Okay. I know exactly where this is in this book now.
In the English or in the French?
Both, actually. Because this
So
is
what
the
was
section.
the
This is the section
what
on
was the thing?
individuation. And man, I wish fucking Elderon was online right now. This would be great. Because it's right here when we
So
say
the
eternal.
addition-
When we say that the eternal return is not the return of the same, or of the similar, or the equal, we mean it does not presuppose any identity. That's page 241 in the English. It's fascinating. Completely different.
So the edition that of the French is it is the Paris one, which is 2003.
Okay, so that's the one I'm looking at now, which is pretty good. That's at least something. All right, it'll be just 2 seconds as I figure this out. Because it's not fun to go back and forth like with all of these translations. Within it, where is the end of section on individuations? Here. So it's children wise. Okay. This has got to be it. What the fuck? Sorry, this is like, I hate doing this. It's always a pain in the ass. It'd be like really great if I had like just a tool. Dump these in. Tell me the differences, please, dear God. And I can't trust AI to do it. I've tried that. Trust me, it doesn't work. Really doesn't work at all. Shit. It's fuck me. I feel terrible because I'm taking forever to do this. But I don't think this is the right section either.
Which chapter?
It's not labeled as a chapter. Let me see if I can scroll back and figure out where it is.
Does he?
Chapter 5 still. Chapter 5 for me starts on page 376 in the French. So if we go to 387-ish, right? 387 is I hate pronouncing this. It's 387 is it is remarkable that extension does not account for the individuations occurring inside it. Height, depth, without doubt, right and left, form, and ground are individuating factors that trace falls and rises. Well, this is a bad translation I'm doing live. That's great. Their value is only relative. See, that's what page 387 is.
Which is chapter 5.
Chapter
so we're
5,
syncing,
correct.
but we're not syncing the pages. Okay.
So what is the first
I
word?
have it at the start.
Yeah.
So the first word of the chapter will be not the some difference like something difference that the first. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then not the given. And not the given.
Correct.
Okay, so that's the first part
That's
of
correct.
the chapter.
We're in the right chapter. So how many paragraphs in am I? Can you count the number of paragraph breaks?
Let me try that.
So if we go 1,
I lost the paragraph. Sorry. Sorry.
It's okay.
Okay. This is one. The first one.
Do
is
you
little long.
have a paragraph that ends about entropy? The last word should be entropy, because that's even in my English one. It ends on entropy.
Is it the one after he talked about Fichte and Schiller? Yeah, entropy. Okay, the dynamics.
Schiller, qualitas Schiller et l'extinction entropie. And then the next paragraph starts with, it is remarkable, to le rend n'a pas compté d'individuels, c'est font on L. That's actually the page I just did, actually. And then I've got Kant, and then just to continue.
Okay. Do you have references in the same book? Let's try to think the references.
Yes.
So do you have references? So when he puts a reference 5, at what page do you have it?
Oh, that's a great
for this
question.
chapter.
That's a great way to do this. Okay, good. 5 is, one sec, I'm going back up through. 5 is, if I can scroll to it, where the fuck did it go? 5 is a quote for me on page, it looks like, fuck, I hate that they don't have page numbers on this. Page 384 of the PDF. So it'd be, at the bottom of the page, there's a paragraph that starts with the manifestation of the philosophy. It's like first few words.
Okay. Oh no.
No. Excellent. That makes this so much more fun. It's the manifestation of philosophy is not common sense. Manifestation de la philosophie n'est pas le bon sens. It is paradoxes. The next paragraph starts with the manifestation of philosophy is not common sense. It is paradoxes.
Oh yeah, yes, exactly. Yes, this okay. Now makes sense. Yeah, okay. So that you have it on the same page. I have it in one page after it. So okay, that's good. So let me try to find another one closer. Okay, so a few pages afterward, he will start speaking of the third synthesis. Few pages after it.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Where he speaks of the deep, I think, if I'm translating it correctly.
The depths. But
yes.
In French, it's depths. Is I think the word, but it's not the word, but it's the translation. But yeah, it's a few pages later he starts talking about the depths.
Okay.
But how is the question? Because it's a few pages later he's talking about Kant's work in this that he sorry. Intuition. Kant defines intuitions as extensive quantities. Do you have that one?
Kant. Sorry, I tried to link something else on Kant. After he speaks of the depth, yeah.
Because he finishes talking about the synthesis of time.
Yes, so we're more or less on the same.
Yes.
We're more or less on the same. So for now, I'll just go to that one and link you. Now we're close, so let's just go to that one. Sorry, this is taking long to link.
No, that's I'm very fine with this. Like this is, it's actually a really fantastic question to be asking. So I'm down with it. I'm not seeing in this section yet, though. You had mentioned Descartes, right?
So he speaks on Descartes on the exactly one before this, on the chapter exactly before this, and
Yes,
so I was
correct.
trying to link the chapters between us. So
Okay.
that one was on Descartes, this one was on the difference and the
Okay, good. Okay. I'm going to go yell at Elderon after this and be like, hey. Because this is his book. This book is his fucking jam. He's read it many, many times. What page are we talking about again? We're trying to figure out the page we're on in the French. The challenge is that the English, the entire book is about 310 pages. The French is well in excess of 450 pages, so it makes it very difficult to figure out where the fuck we actually
mine's
are.
600.
Good Lord.
Okay.
So, is it around where he starts talking about Nietzsche and the Greeks?
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me still?
Yeah.
My headset turned off. Okay. Yeah. It will be a part that he will talks about Nietzsche after he speaks of Bergson.
Yes.
And he will mention the eternal return.
It's his invention, the untimely belief, or the future, because his eternal return is in no way an eternal return of the same. Like it's slightly different for him. Dune mim, which is slightly different than du.
Did you find it?
Yes, I did. I think.
Okay, great. Okay.
I think I did.
This was tiring. Okay.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Yes, exactly this one. The one you just read, I think.
Well, that's actually makes it. So, okay. I need someone who speaks really good French and knows this shit. So, Estelle, how you doing? There's two ways this is spoken of, and it is a very minor difference, and I'm not going to pretend like I have a clue about it. In Klossowski's, is the eternal return du mim of the. Deleuze here is referring to it as le retour d'un mim, of one's own. It's of the, but it's a slightly different. Again, I am stupid, so I'm asking. So it's de versus de un. No, de versus de un. And I'm not pronouncing that correctly.
It's the return of one same. But
one in the same. Yeah.
Not one's same, one same.
Yeah. It's what a minor fucking difference, but they both, it's actually kind of a sizable word change.
So wait, so if I understood correctly, then the way, maybe the translation that I have is a little bit accurate on that more than the English one, is it? Do you think so?
Now that I know where it is, I can actually get to it. So,
okay. Because this to me was a very important thing in understanding what does eternal return means to Deleuze, comparing to what Klossowski tries to discuss. But then once I started reading Klossowski in my language, obviously, I thought that both of them are very similar. So that's why I asked you, how is it in the French? Is there a difference between them? Is it like to Klossowski, literally the return without difference?
So it's different. That's the wrong word. Why did I say that sentence? He is doing something different than Deleuze, but ultimately I think it plays a lot of the same. I think it plays the same in a lot of ways. But it's, one sec, I'm just looking through, and I'm looking at the English translation, which is,
So I think that's the main thing that I'm trying to...
Because his eternal return, in the English it says, because his eternal return is in no way the return of a same, a similar, or an equal. Nietzsche says clearly that if there were identity, if there were an undifferentiated qualitative state of the world, or a position of equilibrium for the stars, blah, blah, blah.
Continue reading.
Then this would be a reason never to leave it, not a reason for entering into a cycle. Nietzsche thereby links eternal return to what appeared to oppose it or limit it from without, namely complete metamorphosis, the irreducibly unequal. Depth, distance, caves, the lower depths, the tortuous, the unequal in itself form the only landscape of the eternal return. Zarathustra reminds the buffoon, as well as the eagle and the serpent, that it is not an astronomical refrain, nor a physical circle. It is not a law of nature. The eternal return is elaborated within a ground or within a groundlessness in which original nature resides in its chaos, beyond jurisdictions and laws which constitute only second nature.
He mentioned Klossowski over here. In the references, do you have it? Klossowski. He mentions the same book.
So in the French, though, so this was reading the original, the English, but in the original French, if I were to translate it, it'd be more like, why does Nietzsche nor the Greeks know that the eternal return is his invention? Because his eternal return is in no way the eternal return of a same, of a similar, or an equal. It's very, very similar.
So he does mention Klossowski, if you see in the references, when he 15, reference 15, on the same page, exactly the one you were at.
Yeah. Reference 15.
So that's to me why I said, why does Klossowski has a different...
God damn, am I fucking blind? What the fuck? There it is. Okay. There's 16.
15. Is it 15 or 16?
I just found 16 and I'm looking back for some reason I'm not able to see a goddamn thing in this book. There it is. Even the great year of Heraclitus was the only time necessary part of the fire constituted. That's the reference 15.
Yes. So reference 15, if you read it, he will have something on Klossowski on exactly the eternal return. He doesn't speak exactly of what he takes from Klossowski, but he does mentions that what Klossowski clarifies on the eternal return is the...
So that's reference 16 for me. Just mentioning.
Oh, 16 to you? Oh, okay. Not 15.
Because...
Okay.
Why? What the fuck? What the fuck? It's 100% different reference. So you're missing a reference, or I added a reference, I guess, in English.
Yeah, okay. Maybe I'm missing the reference.
No, it's a safe bet they added one in the English, just if history knows anything. It says, Pierre Klossowski demonstrated a link between the eternal return and pure intensity's functioning as signs. And it's literally, he names the section we just read, anamnesis.
Exactly.
The experiments De l'eternal return de même. Klossowski offers a detailed description of this world of intensive breaths, which constitute the specific matter of the eternal return. So he's actually just saying, yeah, actually, no, this is it.
Hence, why I ask you exactly this. Why do they have it different? If Deleuze still, because in my language they don't have it different. They both use the same way.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you why. I'm actually going to tell you why. Now that I understand all of this, I'm going to do my best. I'm very sorry. Like, if you're not seeing the camera, I'm looking at it and I'm already apologizing. Just letting you know.
I am.
Okay. So, in this specific paragraph, there's a reason Deleuze is doing this. And I bet you if I spend my time looking through Deleuze elsewhere, he will be using de instead of de un. Because specifically, he is referring here. Is talking about the break that Nietzsche is specifically making in comparison to all the other sort of repeating elements, or how people have talked about the same, or the way that the same is returned. Because it's specifically what he's talking about is that it's not of a, which would deun, of a same, right? He's actually specifically here calling it out. This isn't him referring to the thing itself, or sort of having that sort of element be the focus. He's talking about actually how Nietzsche realized that, because Nietzsche's eternal return is in no way a return of a same, a similar, or an equal. Nietzsche says clearly, if there were identity, if there were an undifferentiated qualitative state of the world, or a position of equilibrium for the stars, this would be a reason never to leave it, not a reason to entering into the cycle. Nietzsche thereby links the eternal return to what appeared to oppose it or limit it from without, namely complete metamorphosis, or the irreducibly unequal. Depths, distance, caves, the lower depths, torturous, and the unequal in itself form the only landscape of the eternal return, this space of bodies, things, raw as they are. The eternal return is elaborated within this ground, or within a groundlessness. I'm just going to continue. I know I read this, but I'm just going to continue. Nietzsche opposes his hypothesis to the cyclical hypothesis, his depth to the absence of depth in the sphere of the immutable. The eternal return is neither qualitative nor extensive, but intensive and purely intensive. In other words, it is said of difference. It's built into it, and that's the point he's making. And so when he says here that Nietzsche's eternal is not in any way a return of a same, that's actually why he phrases it and uses le deun. This is why he's phrasing it that way, because he's saying it's not this, that there is this identity as part of it, that there are bodies part of the difference in the will to power is the highest object of sensibility. This is the Hohestimmung, sensed against the laws of nature. So it's not a return of a same. It's the eternal return of same. Not of a same. Not an individuated sameness. Not a direct sameness. Not a direct absolute repetition. That's if there's a point of difference in repetition, is that repetition doesn't actually exist as we sort of talk about it symbolically. That if, I like to talk about the example of someone, wish I knew who it was, very clever person explained to me. If I see a tree one day, I walk over, there's this Shel Silverstein story, The Giving Tree. I walk over to it and I lean against it. And then the next day I go back to it and I carve a heart into it. The next day I chop it down. This is the same tree. It's the return of the same tree. No, it's not. It's actually a return of the same, of sameness itself. The tree itself is actually different every single time. And every tree is different. Even if it's a glance a moment later, it's always actually different. The eternal return of same as itself being sort of an ontological category is what he's talking about, not the same or of a sameness. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. I think the matter of difference is that Yeah, it's just that we like it's exactly the same. It's just that the way we translate it is different to bring out the same concept. But I found it interesting that even Deleuze mentions it, writes it in the French a little bit different than Klossowski. So the question here is for you is okay. So you explained the Deleuzian position and why he wrote it.
So just to mention real quick, throughout the rest of the book, he actually refers to it as a de même. It is specifically in this place is actually where he's doing it differently, because what he's trying to do, as I read it, is he's trying to extricate the difference, and it reads differently in, well, thank you, Raiko, for the 5 memberships. I can't believe that this earned 5 memberships. So I appreciate it. Welcome to the collective. Because everywhere else he's talking about the return of same, du même, repetition du même, comme repetition du même. It's over and over throughout the entire book, du même, du même. De un même, he's talking about sameness itself, of a sameness, of a same. And so it's a minor shift, and I don't think the English gets it across. Now that I'm rereading this, I don't think this actually is carried through in the English very clearly, which is a shame, because this is fascinating as a difference if he's really doing this. Let me see. I'm just going through now in the French, and I'm just doing fucking Control F and searching for d'un même. Fascinating. I find this shit fascinating. I find this shit fascinating to no end. What the fuck, man? So weird. Such a fucking change. Why would they do that? So that was the specific section we were talking about, difference repetition, right? No?
Sorry, me?
Yeah.
What? I didn't hear the question. Can you say it again? I was reading.
Is that the paragraph you were talking about?
Yes. Exactly. Right. It's exactly the same one. I mean, if you continue, it continues, so he will keep going back to it. But yeah, you already caught the point, so there is no need to keep syncing stuff together. Or linking.
Yeah, and it's in difference repetition. It seems to be what he's driving at. Is he does use de un, but it's only when he's talking about of a same, and it's almost a critical thing, because he's trying to really like pull out, but it's still of or from a same, or from sameness itself. Man, that would be really interesting to figure out how you could translate that.
Okay, Brooks, now it's just that it caught to me. It's something that I knew always about Deleuze, and when I mentioned it to you, it was just about Klossowski. But if you want to read about it more, or if you want to search on this exact difference more, you will find it in cinema, in the second part of the cinema. You will find him doing the same thing when he talks about the difference. That how he will talk in the cinema about the third synthesis of the time, and he will do the same thing. I bet you will find it exactly the same. Maybe the translations wouldn't be between us exactly the same, but you will notice the same thing that he did just here. Because I remember this was one of the moments that I realized what Deleuze was trying to do with regards to eternal return. So yeah, I wasn't prepared to bring you exactly all the links, all the points, but he does it more than once. He does it in even he does it when he speaks of Nietzsche, and in one of the books, I don't remember which one. He has two anyway, and when he does the cinema part 2. So the second part of the cinema and difference and repetition, and that one, you will find them. He will do more or less the same thing when it comes to the third synthesis.
It's fascinating. Yeah. All right. That's the thing for me to research and figure out. Love it. Love it.
Okay, let's continue.
Yes, let's continue actually reading a book. We'll probably just continue straight up. I think just like right after the parenthetical, unless anyone. But what is the function of forgetting in this revelation? More specifically, is not forgetting the source as well as the indispensable condition, not only for the revelation of the eternal return, but also for the sudden transformation of the identity of the person to whom it is revealed? As you saw, when we were reading the letter, and it was the thing I sort of harped on, there is a timeliness, there's a temporality to the experience. That experience becomes then thought. And there's a thing that Nietzsche is referring to as he's talking about forgetting. He's talking about the source being lost. He's talking about this sort of shift, and how forgetting is like crazy important. For Nietzsche, if the eternal return means everything is recurring, right? And that's kind of what he states, what we're talking about. Then what do we remember about previous cycles? How does it work? How do these things come together? What is the function of forgetting inside of this revelation? And the function of forgetting is the transition. No, Afnan, don't be sorry. That's like literally the stuff we exist for. You're good. It's literal. Trust me, that's the reason I do shit like this. And it's not just, on the one hand, we got forgetting, indispensable condition not only for revelation of the eternal return, but also it exists, forgetting as a function exists for the sudden transformation of the identity of the person to whom it is revealed. Forgetting thus conceals eternal becoming and the absorption of all identities in becoming. Right? The process of this, the process of all these things, I just, there's so many fucking directions I can take sort of describing this. Because it's so fucking dense. Okay, maybe each little bit. Forgetting thus conceals eternal becoming. We're experiencing this always. This is a thing that is part of everything. Eternally becoming. But it's being concealed through this process of forgetting it. And also the absorption of all identities into that being. There's the Hohestimmung, the recognition moment that one has already lived this moment indefinitely and infinitely and will indefinitely live it forever, dissolves the fiction of a singular identity. Necessarily the individual is fragmented into a series of individuals across infinite cycles. Forgetting conceals this eternal becoming and conceals also the absorption of all identities that are part of this in that. The same way we were just talking about difference. If you become aware of yourself, you forget yourself. This is the existence that's very universal for humanity. The joke I make, if it's, you are now aware of your own breathing. You weren't a moment ago. That thing that happens where you become aware, but you forget. But you become aware, you forget. This back and forth. Eternally becoming whatever we are. But in that moment, you were a being who didn't have awareness of that. And you were just listening to me. Now you're aware and you're listening to me. These are different identities, different existences, different things that sort of happen across these sort of infinite cycles. And forgetting conceals this. It's the veil that sort of happens over this eternal flux, the ceaseless metamorphosis of existence, the dissolution of the self into this impersonal being that sort of happens. And that line is like the absorption of all identities is very Deleuze, very Spinoza, amongst others. The being, the vector of existence, the unfixity of things, is an impersonal field of existence, of becoming, and forgetting maintains the illusion of stability. And if you remember the first 2 chapters of the book, this is what he was focusing on. Klossowski, through Nietzsche's work, was talking about this stable selfhood and how Nietzsche was having issues with it, or all of these things. And the break here, the eternal returns revelation, tears that veil. It exposes that we have no grounding, that all of it is groundlessness. That's the thread here. Is there not an antinomy implicit in Nietzsche's lived experience between the revealed content and the teaching of this content as an ethical doctrine in the formula, act as though you had to relive your life innumerable times, and will to relive it innumerable times, for in one way or another you must recommence and relive it. Aporia is fundamental to Nietzsche's statement there. That's the entire point. There's a weird tension between the cosmological sort of side of all of this, right? That everything recurs independently of whether you will it to or not. But as such, it has an ethical imperative to tell you to not do that or to live and choose. These fuck up each other. This is like the idea of fatalism versus free will. Is that everything will eternally recur. Also, you can will it elsewhere, but also it will eternally recur. It becomes this, what the fuck? How do these things go together? The will inside of the eternal return, how does that work? What's the role for will if the eternal return is going to happen? If it's necessary that we return to all, if everything recurs, why do we have to re-will it? It's a really bad page break, but that's the line that they've got here. Act as though you had to relive your life innumerable times and will to relive it innumerable times. That phrasing is like a double whammy, right? It's a double whammy. Act as though you had to, and then also will, like impassionately enforce, will yourself to relive it. How? Like, the return becomes a necessity and test almost. So how does that work? How does that work for him? That seems weird. These things don't really super fit. Maybe Klossowski will be answering in a moment. Jordan says, eternal return feels like a way of letting go of the past. Oh, it's understanding that you'll never let go of the past, but also how to forget. Think of it like checkpoints. Think of it like checkpoints. We'll get to that. It's not a terrible way to talk about it, because it's what Klossowski is going to be talking about as we sort of move forward, because he's got a solution for this. Nietzsche does too, and Klossowski's very heavily using that. But it's basically getting rid of the idea of an autonomous will. This idea that free will people, or honestly fatalists at the same time, or determinists, whatever, have this fantasy weird idea that like the alternative to determinism is a completely untethered, lives in a vacuum will that's free of everything. It's not that. For Nietzsche and for Klossowski, it's again amor fati, the love of fate, the embracing of necessity. So in that case, to will the eternal return means that you're transforming your relationship with necessity. You're not causing the eternal return through willing. There's a difference. You're transforming your relationship with necessity itself. And that's kind of what he's going to be driving really through here. The imperative proposition supplements the necessary forgetting by invoking the will to power. The second proposition foresees the necessity concealed in this forgetting. So these are the two parts of, as he sees it, the eternal return, the experience of the eternal return. Right? There's the imperative and there's the necessity. The imperative is the willing of the eternal return, the eternal return. This demand upon you ethically to dredge up the will to power, this active force overcoming a passive nihilism. At the same time, there's an embracing of necessity, this almost cosmological setup that is recurring over and over, that this pattern is going to be keeping happening over and over, and that this revelation exposes. Right? Yeah. Yeah. Is everyone following so far? Because it's dense, but it's dense. It's dense. Klossowski writes fucking crazy dense. All right. Fair enough. I'll just keep going then. Anamnesis, which means remembering. It's a Plato, Old Greek term. As we just read, even Deleuze mentions how Nietzsche is really pulling from the Greeks and really is ridiculous expert on it. But anamnesis is this idea of remembering or recalling the eternal forms of things. This before they're embodied. It's a almost symbolic memory, kind of. Anamnesis coincides with the revelation of the return. How could the return not bring back forgetfulness? Not only do I learn that I, Nietzsche, have been brought back to the crucial moment in which the eternity of the circle culminates, the moment in which the truth of its necessary return is revealed to me. But at the same time, I learned that I was other than I am now for having forgotten this truth, and thus that I have become another by learning it. Will I change again, and once more forget that I will necessarily change during an eternity, until I relearn this revelation anew? That is just poetry. Fucking is beautiful. It's just beautiful. If everything returns, this means forgetting returns too, by the way. That's how it works. You have the revelation, but life moves on, time moves on, things move on. You will forget the revelation, and you will forget the truth of this revelation. It will fall to time. It will fall to the past. It will fall to other things, and you will forget it, and you will once again experience it as revelation again and again, and so on again and again. This cycle of the memory lost and then regaining. The way consciousness operates is maybe this. It's a lucidity between these eternities of oblivion and totality that you experience. Right? It's a beautiful description of the eternal return. It's even Nietzsche will forget. And he can teach it. Good. He's the teacher of it. He will forget. And he must again be taught by his own. In Thus Spoke Zarathustra's animals tell him about the eternal return that he taught them about because he forgot about it. It's not quite deja vu. It's not quite that. It is your awareness of these things. Your awareness and the way life hits you, where you have a revelation about how your existence operates or that you exist, whatever it may be, you're going to also then get hungry and go to McDonald's. Like, that's what you'll do. And when you're in line at McDonald's, you're not going to be like, oh my, that fucking revelation was amazing. Like, No, you're going to fucking do your thing. You're going to go to work. You're going to play Dota. You're going to watch someone stream. You're going to do those things. This is the setup. And then at some point, you will be reminded. Some point you will be reminded. And it will be revelatory again and again and again and again. And so you have this sort of really interesting tripartite structure of things where you have the past, the I was other, right? Though you forgot the eternal return, you lived in ignorance of it. Then you have that present in the experience of experiencing the eternal return, becoming lucid, becoming exploding, as he says. And then you have the future where you will be other. You will forget again. The revelation will have changed you. The cycle will continue. The identity of things is constituted not just by what you learn, but by what you are forgetting. The Nietzsche who did not know the eternal return existed is a literally different Nietzsche than the Nietzsche who writes about it, than the Nietzsche who writes about it later. Knowledge necessarily transforms your identity, transforms what or who you are. Transformation includes knowledge. That transformation is not permanent. So you forget that too. Like it is basically a doctrine that lets us understand how we can eliminate the telos of any sort. Right? That there's no endpoint of self-realization. There's no final achieved identity. There's no ultimate teleological truth or anything. There's only ceaseless change and metamorphosis between knowing and forgetting, and relearning and forgetting, and learning more and forgetting over and over and over. So rich, beautiful. Will I change again? Once more forget? I will necessarily change during an eternity until I relearn this revelation anew. So fucking good. God damn it. Because it's a new. You don't go. It's not like train tracks where you're like hop over and you're like, oh fuck yeah, no, all of this. Jesus, this is great. Now I'm that Brooks again. Oh, now I'm unenlightened Brooks. Now I'm enlightened Brooks. That's not what it is. It's entirely new. The cycle necessitates an entirely new existence of revelation. All experiences are necessarily novel. Every moment is irreducible and change is constant. There is no stable ground. There is no permanent achievement of any sort. It's terror and it's exhilaration. All at once. The emphasis must be placed on the loss of a given identity. The death of God, the God who guarantees the identity of the responsible self. No. 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 I actually don't even. I can't even know what language this is. Do you know? Does anyone know? All right. Well, that's a server moot at that point. I hope they didn't say any racial slurs in whatever language that is. Welcome, Shreya. You're muted. You can say otherwise, and you left. Excellent. That is always fun. Shreya's back. Still server muted. But that's okay. Hello. To continue. The death of God, the God who guarantees the identity of the responsible self, opens up the soul to all possible identities, already apprehended in the various Stimmungen of the Nietzschean soul. The revelation of the eternal return brings about, as necessity, the successive realizations of all possible identities. At bottom, every name of history is I. In the end, Dionysus and the crucified. In Nietzsche, the death of God corresponds to a Stimmung in the same way as does the ecstatic moment of the eternal return. So in this case, God, this is not Nietzsche obviously speaking mostly about the Christian God, but it doesn't matter. God is a thing that exists transcendently, outside of experience, outside of everything, that gives us a thing to anchor ourselves to, a grounding for identity. It guarantees an identity for the responsible self. There is permanence, moral accountability, an eternal damnation or cycle that will bring justice or whatever the fuck you want. People know God as, I am unique. Hi, God, it's me, Margaret. That kind of shit, right? With this eternal soul, I knew you in the womb before you were born. All that shit. With this persistent identity across all time. You are Brooks from before you were even born, all the way till way after you were dead. This makes responsibility the center of things. This makes responsibility a center. I remain I. And so therefore, when I commit a crime, that same identity can be punished. I can sin, therefore also be redeemed. I can, as a consistent identity, do things around that identity. Now there we have God. God's dead. That's great. That guarantee collapses. If we do not have the eternal peeping Tom watching us and witnessing us, securing our identity, keeping eyes on us, what are we then? Well, the self becomes a lot of different possible things, many potentialities. It's a reason that the people who still have some semblance of belief in God, even though God is dead, again, you can't just do away with that. They have a personality. Ted Haggert's my favorite story. The Christian preacher I lived in Colorado when all of it happened. He was in Colorado Springs, telling people that God knows what you do at night. Well, he's out with a gay prostitute who would sell him meth, and they'd have lots of gay sex. And he would then rail against gay marriage and how homosexuals had blood that was made of oil. Great sermon, by the way. I figure he meant baby oil, and that's what confused him, because he'd go and but he would say these things. But it's because the death of God opens up all of the possible identities. There is no singular Ted Haggart anymore. That's gone. We've lost it. Different identities exist from the embryonic all the way through, and suddenly every mood becomes a different self. Angry Brooks, sad Brooks, respectable Brooks, Tuesday Brooks, Friday night Brooks, drunk Brooks, high Brooks, whatever. Rabbit holing on a fucking stupid fucking translation issue Brooks. All of these things are sort of different selves, or the potential of different selves. And as Klossowski's sort of laying out here, the way that Nietzsche's mood oscillations themselves, which he wrote about, we're going to be talking about that in a second as well, and we've been talking about it, but these aren't just like psychological symptoms of a soul torn asunder or in terror or whatever. It's not the case at all. They're actually like ontological experiments, as Nietzsche is sort of going through possible identities. And that phrasing there, that's really great. All its possible identities. All its possible identities. The eternal term brings about as necessity the successive realization of all possible identities, potential identities. That thing that's coming here. This is not various roles or mass or actors. These are incompossible selves. There's a reason that they use the phrase here. It's incompossible selves. Each elevated moment, each Stimmung, right, constitutes different relationships with the world, different identities. These identities can't be integrated into a unified self at all. At all. And so that's the revelation of the eternal return and what it brings about as necessity, the successive realizations. This is the phrasing. At the bottom of every name of history is I, in the end, Dionysus and the crucified. These are deep cuts of Nietzschean shit, mostly from his, we'll just say later letters that Nietzsche had a few bad days in there. because Nietzsche's letters operate between these two in his later days. He wasn't Dionysus in the crucified Christ. Nietzsche bounced between these. It wasn't that he sort of put one on in the other. It wasn't that he was confused about who he was. It's that he had two incompossible identities that inhabited him or were with that. Again, not pathology. That's not the setup here. This is not pathology, but it's a culmination of the necessity, the implications of the eternal return, the dissolution of identity into these incompossible sort of setups of the body, mind, and soul and everything that spring up and become that and then go away. Nietzsche would talk about his laughter, his affirmation, a Dionysian soul, right? This eternal becoming. But then he'd be talking also about very much this crazy suffering or self-sacrifice and things he had to go through and redemption through pain. These are not the same thing. They're incompossible, paradoxically incompossible Nietzsche's. But Nietzsche's both of them. And he was both of them almost at the same time, or we probably should say oscillating between them almost. And the identity underneath it disappears. The identity underneath it just sort of disappears. We'll get to the other letters that sort of are that, but that's kind of the phrasing we're at. This is the ecstatic moment of the eternal return that we're sort of dealing with. Is this fitting for everyone so far? I know it's a lot I just went through. I kind of rambled for a bit, and it's an apology is due there, but I do what I can. Any wording, anything there that's weird, odd, anything you want to jump in about? Okay. Um, 2 seconds. Just 1 second. Just making sure I get a thing in the right place. No one's got a thing. I'm going to wait awkwardly for someone to talk. Someone needs to.
Okay. Well, since the death of God, there's Nietzsche praised the death of God at certain time, because it seems to assert if the death of God occurs at a certain time, that would mean that before that time there were whole people, whole identities.
Yeah. Yes. It's one of the things that's really interesting when you read, and again, this is my reading of Nietzsche, but he's very much talking about sort of how the will to power, the will or the forces, well, there's a lot of ways, but that as time has gone on, as various social formations have fallen back on the production of the will and how the will is produced or how it interacts, these social formations then generate new types of subjectivity and existences. So yes, the eternal return would not be necessarily something that people could even experience necessarily if we were in a aboriginal or savage state, I think is the phrasing around how he talks about it. This is why when he talks about Christianity, he's not really attacking that Christianity came along and did what it did. He very much talks about how the weird master-slave system, and again, he's not talking about it as like, oh, I want to go back to that, but in that system is what sort of birthed intellectualizing pain, and intellectualizing pain actually gave us a huge amount of powers and understanding of how people can exist. And these things, it's not about returning to some sort of primordial non-functioning any of this, but that these are tools. And as he understood them more and more, he does a lot with it. And the eternal return is born of that. It is born of the will to power, for sure.
So it's not so much of a universal time and sensitive thing.
It's all contingent because there's no truth. There's no larger thing. We exist contingently. The will does what it does, falls back on itself as it does, and these things come about as they do. And so he is speaking very contingently through his own experiences. He's not trying to build here's what people always were, but instead here is what I'm experiencing. And as he talked about, and the God is dead thing, gay science, is where I tend to sort of talk about that one. But the way he talks about gay science, that God is dead, the madman that killed him, and all of that, he is speaking about sort of the move to modernity or around modernity and how God has changed its position and what it was for us. And I think social sciences back up his understanding of that, the way God was handled in what would become, as I prefer the way Deleuze and Guattari go about it in Anti-Oedipus, but where they talk about there's the tribal existence where the earth or the territory we live in is literally what we do everything for. It's not a God as we would think of it, but it is, all-encompassing Mother Earth, whatever it may be. When we move to the despotic, that puts God in a very different place, beyond the king, where he is our point of contention against God. And the death of God is the movement towards capitalism, as we sort of get away from the singular point of truth, or the idea of there being a teleological totality that is just where we're all heading. And that's been hundreds of years, but again, Nietzsche was, the first to, I think, really diagnose it properly.
I have other thoughts, but they are not so relevant to this reading right now.
All right. We'll have that reading some other time then. How's that sound?
That sounds fine.
All right. Klossowski does this in some of his works. In this one, he's going to do it a few more times. You're going to see him write digression. Because it's kind of like, hey, this isn't really the point of what I was talking about, but hey, we should totally take a second, because I want to talk here specifically. I want to talk about how weird it is to say that, like, the willing of the eternal return is a thing. Because Nietzsche says this, and it's like, that's kind of a weird thing. I want to stick on that. So he does. So his digression goes. The eternal return is a necessity that must be willed. Which, as a sentence, necessity is things happen out of necessity, not out of being determined. There's two ways of looking at a marble rolling downhill and hitting a tree. You could say that it hits the tree because it was destined to do that, because it was placed where it was placed, and that's everything. The necessity of it is that, well, look, here are all the rules we know, so by necessity, the marble had to hit the tree. Some exceptionally minor nuance that becomes incredibly transformative depending on how you run with it. So the idea of saying that something is a necessity and that it must be willed is very fucked up and paradoxical. He continues, only he who I am now can will the necessity of my return and all the events that have led to what I am, insofar as the will here presupposes a subject. So this is the paragraph. The only I, who I am right now, only the person I am right now is capable of willing this, right? That's it. Only I, who I am now. But the eternal return dissolves the now into an infinite series of now, because the person who said this clearly isn't now, it's then. So the subject who's willing is like a product of a chain of events that leads to this moment. This is, right? Only he who I am now can will the necessity of my return and all the events that have led to what I am, insofar as the will here presupposes a subject. That's kind of the problem. That's the problem. Willing, as we talk about it, And as many people talk about it, and this includes essential salts, this includes many people who read Deleuze and all this, or talk about desire, they talk about the self, a stable subject who wills or is willed. This Kantian idea of the agent or the agency. The challenge, of course, is the eternal return dissolves stable subjectivity, right? Right? So he goes, now this subject is no longer able to will itself, as it has been up to now, but wills all prior possibilities. For by embracing in a single glance the necessity of the return as universal law, I deactualize my present self in order to will myself in all the other selves whose entire series must be passed through, so that in accordance with the circular movement, I once again become what I am at the moment I discover the law of the eternal return. Yes, this is the Spaceballs watching the tape moment. Wait, we missed it? We did. When was it? Just now. Right now? No, just then. It's that shit over and over and over. Okay. We're going to take this bit by bit. It's so fucking dense. Klossowski's so dense. Okay. Now this subject is no longer able to will itself as it has been up to now, but wills all prior possibilities. So the subject can't will their past. That's not really what this is. They're not willing all the things that have literally happened to them or their memories. They're not bringing that back. That's not the thing that's happening here. Instead, they're actually willing all prior possibilities, all potentialities. This is the field of the virtual, for those of you familiar with it. But this is like all unrealized paths not taken. All prior possibilities. Okay? This is because the eternal return as experience means I have lived through all the possibilities across infinite cycles. By necessity. Like, you're going through it, therefore you've lived all of it. That's it. It's happened, right? Your present actuality that you're in right now, right, is just one realization experience among the infinite series or infinite sets of infinite sets. So to will the eternal return is not to will what you are or what you went through last week or last Tuesday, but to will all potentialities, not possibilities, potentialities. The phrasing here is very specific. It wills all prior possibilities. They mean it in a very specific way. It's not possible and real. It's actual and virtual. It's a whole thing for Klossowski and for Smith here. He's written wonderfully. Both of them have. But again, it's all other lives, all other identities, all other paths converge on you in this moment. So what happens is willing is not an appropriation of your actual past as a subject. It's an affirmation of the virtual multiplicity. It's not, I will what I did. It's, I will all the potentials that underlie this moment. Okay? Yeah, it's a lot. I find it to be an incredibly profound. This digression is fucking crazy. This whole book is nuts. So that's that sentence. Sorry. He continues, for by embracing in a single glance the necessity of the return as a universal law, I deactualize my present self in order to will myself in all the other selves whose entire series must be passed through, so that in accordance with the circular movement, I once again become what I am at the moment I discover the law of the eternal return. In that moment, in that moment of revelation, right? You are able to see all of it or experience all of it at once. You have a perfect vision of the structure. As this happens, your present self necessarily becomes deactualized. It becomes virtual. It releases its grip on your steady, constant identity. The present, the moment, loses privilege and becomes one of many moments among this infinite sort of set or series that's sort of at you in this moment. This is not the destruction of self. It is the de-concretization, the de-reification. That's not a fucking word. It's a good word. That's not a word. It's a de-reification, where you cease to treat your present identity as substantial. And as he says, will myself in all the other series. It's not a sequential willing. You're not like grabbing Brooks from 5 minutes ago over and over. It is a simultaneous total affirmation of the entire series. And again, when we go back to Afnan, or who was here earlier, and we had that back and forth over the specific wording. For Deleuze, for Klossowski, for Nietzsche, the thing is that we're talking about sameness, not a sameness, but sameness. Not, this is the same Arizona can. It is actually a grasping of sameness itself, which is all and complete. Yeah, I know, it's a lot. Okay, it's a lot. And he ends with the line, I once again become what I am at the moment I discover the law of the eternal return. The process that's happening here, this circular return to this starting point, returns you transformed, returns everything transformed. You become again, but only having been all of those other things. So your identity, and this is, by the way, Nietzsche's not saying, oh, you're special if you have this. This is get that fucking out of your head. This is not him saying, oh, you have to work towards this and then you can understand it. No. This is the fucking point. All of us do this. Identity, our stable selves, is achieved through this multiplicity experience, not despite it. Without that totality of all potentials, and then us extracting ourselves and us oscillating back and forth between this and this, we would not have identity as we know it. So he says, we're going to go to the next, I'm just going to keep going because this is like, there's so much in here. At the moment, the eternal return is revealed to me. I cease to be myself here and now. Hic et nunc. It's an old fucking dork nerd sentence. I fail to be myself here and now. I cease to be myself here and now, and am susceptible to becoming innumerable others, knowing that I shall forget this revelation once I am outside the memory of myself. This forgetting forms the object of my present willing. For such a forgetting would amount to a memory outside my own limits. My present consciousness will be established only in the forgetting of my other possible identities. Fucking, I really like this book a lot. At the moment, it is revealed to me, I cease to be myself here and now, and I'm susceptible to becoming innumerable others. You and that identity, that stability, explodes, goes away, dissolves, gone. But it's only that self immediately in this determinate location. That's why they use the phrase hic et nunc. It means you cease to be yourself, right, boom, then, boom, not, oh, I've ceased to be myself. I've took a lot of mushrooms. This is not what they're talking about. It's in that moment, and you become susceptible, opened to, vulnerable to, becoming. It is not that I will become, which has a weird certainty to it. You are susceptible to, vulnerable to, It means that there's a potentiality there, potentially opened. The revelation does not drive metamorphosis. It exposes and makes vulnerable the operating structure that was always already there. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Knowing that I shall forget this revelation once I am outside the memory of myself. The experience of it exists in time. Your awareness of it passes. There's a boundary of things that happens here when you're outside of myself. I love the phrasing there. The myself, this consistency, this plane of consistency almost that I am, this identity that's there, myself. I go outside of this. I become other. I become something not me or this field, and that becomes or requires the breaking of the land or the personal, the privation of space. That forgetting forms the object of my present willing. I am not just I'm not just willing the eternal return. Specifically, I'm willing my future forgetting of the eternal return. I will to lose the knowledge I possess. So, yes, it's paradoxical. Yes, it's weird to say out loud, but you're kind of saying you're willing, not willing, that will make willing necessary again. Fuck. That's what you're saying. I'm not joking. I'm not fucking around. That's how I read this. It's a forgetting. It's Nietzsche talks about forgetting. It's central to this. It's the need of that. For such a forgetting would amount to a memory outside my own limits. Memory, as we talk about it, and exists, is really about what's in your grasp. You don't have memories outside of your experience. You may have invented them, but that's your experience of that thought or that thing. I've had weird, vivid dreams or weird experiences where I was trying to figure out what was happening somewhere else, and that became sort of a memory to me. But memory is within your limits. We talk about memory typically as something that's within the grasp of any subject. But that subject is transforming, gone, disappearing. You can't have memories of other identities. It would exceed the bounds of like the persistence of consciousness that consciousness requires to be stable. So you forget other identities, but you also forget other elements. It's the condition for being present in consciousness. I am conscious as this identity only by not remembering other identities. Memory and forgetting are not opposites. They're complementary elements of a process. Consciousness requires this process. Learning, forgetting. It's not the Kelly Bundy thing. It's one of my favorite gags is where she has exactly like 1,005 things she can know. She learns something new, she forgets something else. It's a good gag. It's not wildly far off though. We have to forget. We have to simplify experiences of life, find those patterns and crush the experience of things. We do this so we can understand that I don't need to remember every day I've had tea or how I made tea every single day as a perfect memory, but I can lose those things and remember stuff around it, things around it, but it's not me. The other identities existed. They were there, even if it's a flash in the pan identity in those cycles. You never know how long, but there is memory or structures of what has been. These are unconscious. They're outside of my subjectivity's limits. That's the thing. They're outside of my limits. My Brooks now, this Brooks. Just like you, whatever you are now, outside of your limits. You have affective experiences or things that fly back, but they're not really memories. They're images produced through process. We'll get to that, but it's a little bit different than that. This is like you've lived many lives and you have that repository in you unconsciously. Your consciousness is now, more or less. Is everyone following? It's a lot. Two seconds. Oh, wait, I'm happy to be awkwardly here as long as I need to be. Doesn't bother me to be awkward. I'll sit here and be awkward.
Hello, can I say something? Oh.
You may absolutely say something, my friend.
Thank you. This isn't like terribly rigorous, and it might just be a case of jumping ahead with what's being said here, and Klossowski is just saying what he's saying, or this might be a context of just a description of a Nietzschean concept, but if it isn't that, I might take it further and just ask, I guess I'm just wondering what the sort of like valorization of externals here is for. Like if I think about memory as deterministic in some way, and I think about the ways you can go back to it, you can reconfigure it, you can do all this in order to be a bit more free with it. But I can also think of, the opposite with externals, where, the more you go into them and give yourself to them, you're determined in some other way. So I'm just wondering if that's just going further into something else, or if that's just not an issue for Klossowski yet, or if he has a take on that.
It's in here. Oh, it's in here. Oh, it's in
okay.
Here. It's super in here. Like it's super in here. I don't know how else to phrase it. Like I actually think the next paragraph may actually be getting to what you're talking about, but what Klossowski's doing throughout this entire thing is very much answering exactly those questions and trying to build out the eternal return, or the vicious circle, as that generative process through which we make our subjectivity, even if we don't understand how. It's not actually wildly far from the machinic unconscious and the way that Anti-Oedipus goes through the syntheses, to be perfectly frank.
Fair enough. Okay, I'll just I'll keep
I know
tuning in while you
it's
read
a lot. It's weird because it sounds very much like a very flowery language. It sounds a little hippy dippy, honestly, the way he talks about it. There's writers who have a tonality like this that I have almost summarily dismissed, because by the time you get into it, it's like, oh, this is just nonsense. He's going to be coming back to all of the stuff and bringing all these things in. It's actually what makes the journey really fun. That's just my opinion. It may not be what you were saying. I'm not trying to quote you. I'm just saying, like, for me, that's how I took it. So literally the next paragraph, by the way, starts with, what is this memory? Because it's once I'm outside the memory of myself, is the thing he's referring to. Memory outside my own limits. What is this memory? It is the necessary circular movement to which I abandon myself, freeing myself from myself. If I now admit to this willing, and by willing it necessarily, I will have re-willed it, I will simply have made my consciousness conform to this circular movement. Were I to identify myself with the circle, I would never emerge from this representation as myself. In fact, already I am no longer in the moment when the abrupt revelation of the eternal return reached me. For this revelation to have a meaning, I would have to lose consciousness of myself, and the circular movement of the return would have to be merged with my unconscious, until the movement brings me back to the moment when the necessity of passing through the entire series of my possibilities was revealed to me. All that remains then is for me to re-will myself, no longer as the outcome of these prior possibilities, no longer as one realization among thousands, but as a fortuitous moment, whose very fortuity implies the necessity of the integral return of the whole series. All right. We'll try this. We'll see if my notes are any good. So what is this memory? Oh, that's the circle itself. Not the process, not the circle itself. That this is not memory in a subject, right? But memory as impersonal cosmic structure, as this ontological structure that exists. The circular movement of things remembers by returning all things. And it's the phrasing, it's the necessary circular movement. The phrasing is very specific. What is this memory? It is the necessary circular movement to which I abandon myself. That's what the memory is. And the abandon myself it's a good translation. The original French is lâcher prise, which is like a letting go. I abandon myself to it. I let go of things. It's different than like an active willing, but this is instead more of a surrender, an abandonment, allowing of things, letting go of things is what the phrasing is really here. Freeing yourself by releasing your grip on this fixed identity, by allowing yourself to become dissolved. And he says, I'm freeing myself from myself. That's the beauty of what he's talking about here. It says self is liberated from self, and by doing so, you're dissolving the self. But the question is, who is freeing? Who frees things? When you do that, there's this weird thing. I free myself from myself is intended to be sort of a self-dissolution. It disappears in the same gesture it's spoken of. Did Klossowski influence Foucault? Foucault said this is his book, Living Currency. He didn't like it first, but is actually maybe one of the most important books he's ever read. So he liked Klossowski quite a bit. So he says then, if I now admit to this willing, and by willing it necessary, I have re-willed it, I will simply have made my consciousness conform to this circular movement. There's a really funny way that this is written that I think is intended to be a little on the levity, humor maybe side, because there is a complexity that is spoken here by the almost nonsensical way he's layering these words into it as a thing. If I will now, I will have already willed across past cycles. So that he's talking about how, like, in this present willing that's happening, again, he's speaking through the experience of the eternal return. In this present willing, there is this repeating of infinite past willings that sort of step in. There's this anticipation of infinite future willings that are part of it as well. There's this, if I will now, I will have already willed across past cycles. This crazy phrasing. I fucking love it. And he says, I have to admit to, if I admit to this one, if I confess, if I acknowledge, it's not that he's creating it, right? If I admit to this willing, the phrasing here is, you could almost say, I wonder if in the original French, this is accepting the willing. acknowledging it. And then he ends with saying that basically consciousness doesn't create the circle. The circle is the movement, the memory. Consciousness aligns with it. Conformity is amor fati, loving necessity. Consciousness is adequate to its own circularity. That's what he's saying. Were I to identify myself with the circle, I would never emerge from this. In fact, that's the trap of identification here. Like, that's the trap of it. If I become the circle, I have no perspective to think of the circle anymore. Right? I would never emerge from this representation as myself. If I identify fully with it, I lose myself. The subject requires an existence different from that movement, from that memory. Yeah. It necessitates it. Otherwise, you would just be part of the circle. And you can't be conscious of it because consciousness requires differentiation between knower and known. And so, again, lost and lost and lost. It's a completely different beast as you go. Yeah. You want to read Foucault's most important works? What are they? Well, I mean, you can kind of just, honestly, if you just go to Amazon and Google Foucault, it's probably going to be a pretty decent list in order of like what you should do. The Order of Things is easily my favorite book of Foucault's work. Madness is brilliant. But I think The Order of Things is just so gripping. Sorry, everyone. I'm just answering questions for the tubes. I would never emerge from this representation as myself. In fact, already, I am no longer in the moment when the abrupt revelation of the eternal return reached me. So, as he's saying this, it's really, I adore this. I would never emerge from it as myself. In fact, already, I'm no longer in the moment when the abrupt revelation of the eternal return reached me. It's already there. There's already distance representation. There's already this sort of thing that you can't possess built into the nature of how it exists and how it forms. The only relation to it is the intensive experience of being in it. The intensive experience of being in it. There's no extensive version of it. To think of it requires being away from it, which means losing it. It is paradoxical in its existence, necessarily. God, sometime I feel like I might have a stroke when I'm doing this. This shit's crazy. The wording on this is great. This is generally working for people. Okay. For this revelation to have meaning, I would have to lose consciousness of myself, the revelation of the eternal return. I have to lose consciousness of myself. The circular movement of the return would have to be merged with my unconscious until the movement brings me back to the moment when the necessity of passing through the entire series of my possibilities was revealed to me. Yes, Goddard. For a revelation of this to have significance, to matter to you, to be a thing that you can speak of, to have meaning, you have to forget the experience of it. Meaning is a different process. It's not an intensive, you have to be standing outside of it. You've got to be dealing with it differently. You have to allow this to merge with your unconscious structure. And this is like a little Freudian, little Lacanian, very Deleuze-Guattarian, like the way that things get repeated without knowing they're being repeated. Forgetting is the mechanism that enables this return to a same. Not the same, a same, to sameness. It's a very different beast. This is not the mechanical representation of memory here. This is the intensive of it all. And the phrasing, just really interesting on the passiveness for me. Until the movement brings me back. Because the circle, the movement, the memory, it's a very different thing. Because I don't bring myself there. The movement is the movement. I'm in that. I'm in the stream. I'm in the river. It's going. Agency has transferred a little bit from like the subject doing things to instead impersonal forces. Yeah. It'd be good if I use a board to explain the stream of thought. It would be bad if I did, because the whole point of this, and it's not an easy thing to grasp. If you haven't experienced it like firsthand, you can. It's not hard. It's not like wildly difficult, but there are moments where you are aware of yourself. Now, being aware of yourself and then being aware that you're aware of yourself is a very different beast. Everyone becomes aware of themselves and aware of the same, and then falls back into forgetting that they were aware of that. Oh, I'm cold right now. And you put on a coat, you're slightly warmer. You forget that you were cold a moment ago. You're no longer Cold Brooks. Cold Brooks dies. Off is Warm Brooks. He's wandering around outside in the frigid weather in his warm, comfy coat. Then he gets too warm. Oh, I'm too warm. And then the consistency that's the thread through all of it, the thing, it's a series of identities that are popping up, and we're constantly going through this. Being aware of that awareness is a different beast. Once you're aware of that awareness, it puts you in a really weird place. If you are, and this is, I would say, a general commentary on meta shit. If you're having a meta conversation and you've announced that, the moment you get down a rabbit hole, you're not having that anymore. And you've forgotten the position you're trying to have the entire thing from. You're trying to stay above the fray, trying to stay outside of that. This is like that. This is the way that the process of grasping and discussing the meta works. But this is the grand meta, you might say. This is you realizing in a moment that you are you, and this grand understanding of all of the moments collapsing in on themselves. And then not as you move back to the real world and you start dealing with things again, and you start having Arizona fucking mucho mango, which is fine. Turns out it's not as good as I remembered when I was a teenager. That thing that happens, he's describing, Nietzsche's describing, Klossowski's given voice to the implications of this. Because as this revelation happens, you have to forget it. It requires that. It becomes merged with your unconscious, and it passes through all potential identities, because they all have to be actualized, basically, before this return to a revelatory moment. You can't skip things. Everything comes in, passing through the entire series of possibilities revealed. And he says, all that remains then is for me to re-will myself, no longer as the outcome of these prior possibilities, no longer as one realization among thousands, but as a fortuitous moment whose very fortuity implies the necessity of the integral return of the whole series. I do take notes while I'm reading, but my notes are nonsense and mostly only for me. All that remains is for me to re-will myself, no longer as an outcome of these prior possibilities, no longer as one realization among thousands, but as a fortuitous moment whose very fortuity implies the necessity of the integral return of the whole series. That moment is pure contingency. There's no reason for it, no causalities for it. Its occurrence necessitates everything returning. It's one of those weird ways that when you start getting into like A lot of Klossowski, Deleuze, Guattari, this direction of sort of critical thought. When people start talking about the contingent for Klossowski, for Deleuze, and for others, we tend to think of contingency as like, oh, it's just these couple things. It's a contingent. Its forces came together to make a contingent moment. It's these things. But that's not really what it is. Contingency is actually all the things and all the forces coming together to that moment. Contingency is actually dependent on totality. Just to go straight to Spinoza, who I think did an excellent job proving out a great deal of this, the contingent requires everything be in line for that. It doesn't mean everything did everything. Like, again, there's no causation, no causative sort of structure of things. There's no sufficient reasons for any of this. Contingency is the event happened, and we can kind of rethink maybe things that contributed. But the reality is contingency has a maximalized dependency on totality. Absolutely that. And so as such, when we talk about chance occurrences, like any one of us in this very moment that you're in right now, all of them, we are chance occurrences. And that fortuity, that moment of that, necessitates the return of everything that came before it. Chance and necessity are intertwined. This is Deleuze's logic of sense, the ideal game, and how he talks about Mallarmé's poem, A Blow of the Dice Will Not Abolish Chance. This is all of those things brought together. And it's an incredibly profound statement that's really, really, really important, because it is not that you are causally determined. You are not the outcome of your situation. Don't reject causal determinism. That's not what we're doing. You are not a product of past events in a linear chain on a conveyor belt. You are no longer one realization among thousands. You are not one particular instance of a generality. You are a chance occurrence. You are a chance occurrence. You are a chance occurrence. That's where we're going to stop this week. Make a note on here. If I can get... Where'd my pen go? What the fuck, Brooks? You're just disorganized today. Terrible, man. Just awful. All right. Boop, 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 boop. All right. All right. That'll be good. And we save you. Boop, 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 boop. And that's going to be our reading for this week, because it is enough. That's enough. That's enough. It's a lot. It is a lot as we do this shit. Let's see. Next week, we will be continuing from here. I hope I've done a moderately decent version of this. It is one of my favorite books. If you can't tell from like how I get excited about reading every fucking sentence and how crazy deep. I find so much of what Klossowski wrote the same way I enjoy reading Nietzsche. Deleuze doesn't work in the same way for me. I think Deleuze's concepts are incredible, but he does a much more traditional philosophical sort of breakdown of it. Klossowski eschews that, and so does Nietzsche. Neither of them are in that direction. And so as such, they've got a great deal more poetry. Guattari has a lot of this when he's at his best. Not all the time, really not all the time. But when he's at his best, he does the same thing. So do a lot of these other guys. But this is like crazy good. And it's really, I just find it beautiful. It's like there's a poetry to it and a philosophical component to it that is just amazing. So with that, I will thank all of you. Let me see if anyone is actually online or exists in any meaningful capacity as online right now. Let's see. You're there. And then, nope, not there. There you are. We kept a solid 35 people for a Klossowski reading. I'll take it. That's nice. It's always good to see. Let's see. Does anyone know anyone who's actually streaming? Oh, Sunday is at 4:30. But that's like 2 hours away, so I won't be sending you there. Let's see. Come on. What do we got? Where am I going to be putting you today? Oh, we'll send you over to Lucy Hayes. Why not? Lucy is playing some Final Fantasy Tactics. That'll be lovely. As always, please do join us live. As you can see, I very much love the engagement, and so does everyone else, actually. No one should ever be embarrassed about talking about these things or asking the questions, because the whole point is to force these conversations and actually get these things talking. And Will, I want to, at some point, when I have a little bit more time, I want to actually talk through. Have you read this book all the way, or are you just joining us on the reading casually? Just curious. I know I'm putting you on the spot, Will. I don't mean to. Okay. Well, as we go, I'm going to keep in mind your question, and I'm going to be asking constantly if it's answering it, because it's like what you're talking about is kind of like one of the thrusts of the entire book. So I kind of don't want to go spoilery and like totalize it by trying to explain it overly simply, but it'll be fun. To join us live, discord.gg/DGQC. You can even join. Will's got a reading group. We've got random people having reading groups all the time. We fucking adore it. Come do that. And if you can, support what I'm doing. If you have a couple extra bucks, it always works a little bit to be able to make sure that QC can keep going. And that's the best way to do that is patreon.com/DGQC. And of course, we love having you. So with that, I'm going to say, hey, thank all of you for joining, and we'll see you soon enough. There we go. Easy enough. Thank all of you for joining.